Welcome to the E-Show with Neil Ravin. Founded in 2013, the EHL has become the college placement leader on the East Coast. Sit back and learn more about the next step in your junior hockey career.
Welcome to the E-Show, presented by the Penalty Box Foundation. The Foundation's mission centers around their daily motto, we take care of our own, as they help out all of those within the hockey community who've experienced a catastrophic event. Learn more at penaltyboxfoundation.org. What's up? My name is Neil Ravin, and this is episode number 90 of the E-Show. On this week's episode, we recap the opening weekend of the 2021-22 season and make a few changes to the EHL and EHLP power rankings during the weekly rundown. Further along, we provide the latest update on the E-Crew Fantasy Challenge with the two rookies jumping out to the early lead. Finally, the group highlights some games to watch in the final stretch before the Worcester Showcase. What's up, E-Crew? Does it finally feel like hockey season?
A little bit. We had some game action. A little bit more than we had last week when we recorded, gang.
As I always say, Jeff, the off season is technically 5 months long, but it feels like longer, right? Like,
yeah,
it has
like 5 years.
It's a 7-month season followed by a 5-month off season, and as dumb as it may sound, the off season feels like it's longer than the actual season. Fair?
Yeah, I think that's very fair. I think most coaches, players, and staff would agree with us. Anthony, what say you? You've been around in the EHL for a while.
Well, personally, I think part of it was because I couldn't make it to the Frozen Finals last year.
Yeah.
So my season ended a little early.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it just felt like the offseason kept dragging on forever. And the other thing, too, is that I was not able to really go to the 87's training camp as much as I would have liked or in years past. So I think that was another reason why it just felt like forever.
And this is Lauren's first off season, so I guess we can't really ask her how
her
long it felt.
We'll ask her in a year, but we can ask her to call me out for the news that I did not acknowledge on last week's podcast.
Yeah, I was surprised about this from you, considering everyone's like, oh my God, this is like Neil's best friend. They golf together. There's some more teams that are finally starting some games this week, and one of them is the Red Train, from what I hear. They're finally leaving the station to regular season.
Ooh,
but they
I
are
like that.
without,
Choo-choo!
They are without their usual conductor, Mr. Cody Campbell, which I'm kind of sad because everyone hyped him up, and it seemed like he was going to be cool to meet, but he departed us for another league, but seems like he's doing pretty well for himself, and everyone's pretty happy for him. So it's good to see he's got another opportunity, but it's sad to see him go before I got to meet him.
Yes. Our usual conductor. I like that.
I don't know why I didn't say it last week. Like, Cody's probably pissed at me. We share the same birthday. I am 1 year older, but he also has a daughter, so he told me time is ticking. So that was the last thing he said to me before he left. Time is ticking. By the time I come back, you should be a father. I was like, that's a lot of pressure.
Yes.
That's a lot of pressure. So with that, let's get to the weekly rundown.
It's time for the E-Crew's Weekly Rundown.
And the E-Show Weekly Rundown is brought to you by the Junior Hockey Podcast, your home for junior hockey news, knowledge, and nonsense. Check them out at tjhpodcast.com.
So, opening weekend, handful of games, number of teams played, number of teams different. The first thought that comes to mind in getting on this is, how do the Rangers beat the Spartans 3-2 on Friday in overtime? And then the Avalanche beat the Spartans 7-0 the next day, but then the Rangers beat the Avalanche. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to me. Are we back on this?
Neil,
T-Y.
Neil, this is something I learned in geometry in 9th grade in high school, called the transitive property, where if one thing equals one thing, then the other thing should equal the other thing. So in this case, it would be if the Junior Rangers barely beat the Spartans and the Avalanche wallop the Spartans. When you use the transitive property, that should mean that the Avalanche should have a really good game against the Boston Junior Rangers. I did it when I played in high school. These players do it in the EHL. I've heard 87s talking about it in years past, but it just doesn't always add up. It's a game by game basis. And I guess for the Avalanche, they were hot one day, but when they went up against the Junior Rangers, they were just too strong for them.
Yeah, I think Lauren was actually thinking about the transitive property also, right?
Sure. Math was
Is
never
that
my strong
Anthony?
suit, so probably not.
Is that Anthony or is that Russell Crowe?
I did get to two
Beautiful
of those
Mind?
games though.
Yes.
I ended up, it just happened that I saw the Rangers twice. I saw the Rangers take on the Spartans on Friday, and then I saw them take on the Avs on Sunday, I think it was. And those were two like kind of different games because it was pretty evenly matched in Friday's game because they ended up going to overtime. So like I thought it was a little evenly matched. They were a little back and forth there kind of. And when I saw Sunday's game, it kind of seemed like they ran away with it a little bit because the Avs came out strong because I'm pretty sure they scored the first goal. I believe it was my man Dempsey scored the first goal, I believe.
Yeah,
if I
Thomas
remember
Dempsey,
correctly.
good pick.
He kind of gave them a little bit of momentum at the beginning. I was like, okay, maybe they'll come out, and everyone's been telling me, oh, BGR is like pretty good. They're pretty hot. Look out for them. But I was like, well, Avs are putting up a little bit of a fight here pretty early. So I was waiting to see if anything was going to happen. And BJR came back and kind of just stormed them. They tied it up at 1. And after that, they kept on coming, and Avs just were not there for it.
And the Avs have more returners than I thought too, Neil. I mean, BJR, that's a completely new team. The only one I really recognized was Kargas, I think is like one of the only forwards I recognized from last year's team. Everyone, we got Boyclair as a new name there. Yeah. Chris Jackson now in net. A lot of new faces for Rich, but as he says, #1 is not enough.
My God. Oh my God. But
already starting with the hashtags.
What's like, I said this on one of the broadcasts. It may have been the Saturday broadcast with Tyler. Is it too early to put stock in the fact that the Spartans lost on Saturday because that was their back-to-back, right? They played Friday and Saturday. And the Avalanche lost on Sunday because that was their back-to-back. They played Saturday and Sunday. The Rangers never played back-to-back. They played Friday and Sunday. Is it too early to put stock in that? And are these players too young to say that they're already tired? Like, yes?
Well, gee, Neil, I wonder who's scheduling these games.
Oh, here we go again. They schedule their own
back.
regular season games. They schedule their own regular season games, and it's not my fault they scheduled it like that. That's what they picked.
Oh, calm down, Neil. I wasn't implying you did anything. Come on, relax.
Well, the key word is always you, Anthony, when it comes to scheduling. So, of course, I will acknowledge that in the moment, I think I recognized that was that was pretty funny last week. Stepping back, I was like, that was really funny. And then seeing the engagement when it was posted, I was like, damn, that was really funny, actually, what took place last week. So
that was very good.
But of course,
quite a bit of traffic too on social media.
Yes.
Great. We're going to keep those going all season long.
But
Neil, going back to that point, I mean, a lot of these guys, the adrenaline's pumping too, right? It's the beginning of the season. Yeah, you're young, you're fresh, you're healthy, but the adrenaline's pumping. And when your adrenaline's pumping, it eventually will drain and deplete and you'll get tired. And a lot of these guys are moving up from, prep school, high school hockey to junior hockey. It's a very different speed, a lot of different talent. And so, yeah, maybe that did have a actual effect on BJR not playing back-to-backs, but Seacoast and the Avs did. I think that could be a possibility for sure.
I don't know if I brought it up in last week's podcast or if I brought it up in one of my broadcasts with the EHLP games, is that when you have players coming from midget hockey, high school hockey, they don't play 20-minute periods. So when you're playing junior hockey for the first time, that's actually a big adjustment to get used to, playing full 60-minute contests.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Very
so, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Obviously, I have to make this point actually, because typically in past years on Mondays, we have posted the power rankings. A lot of questions came as to why the power rankings have not been posted yet this week, because this year they are no longer Raven's rankings, just so everyone can acknowledge that at home. I am including the whole crew, Jeff, Lauren, and Anthony, and even Justin when he wants to step in here, because nobody understands how I do the rankings. So guess what? Now you're all part of it. Okay. So now if I'm going down, you're all going down with me. So we're going to do them together on the podcast tonight and every week moving forward, and releasing them on Thursday. So people can know that when the podcast comes out, so do the power rankings. So obviously I bring that up because going into the season ranked number 1 and winning your first 2 games, there's no reason that the Rangers should move. They're still number 1, obviously locked in.
All in favor say aye.
Aye. Justin,
Lauren,
Justin,
Anthony, Justin,
are you there?
I'm sorry, I missed that.
we all have to vote.
I have to hit the button to be able to talk to you.
There he
yes,
is.
I'm here.
Yes.
So we're all in favor of keeping PJR number 1.
But it's a great transition because Avalanche were 2, right? They beat the Spartans 7-0. They lose to the Rangers 3-1. Side note, I get distracted. Okay. Rangers. Awesome week from Chris Jackson, right? Looked tremendous in goal. Guess who is coming back?
Oh,
Nathan Mueller.
shut up.
So
When?
Justin's gonna love this one. The rich get richer. Yeah. See what I
like it.
Oh,
Yeah.
hey,
I like it.
That's a very Justin like joke.
So
Wait, Neil, is he coming back next week? Not to,
he's not
tease
playing.
something.
I had the text. One of the texts today said he's not playing until the showcase starts. So
Oof. All right.
you're good. We'll get to that section. We'll get to that
We'll get to
segment
that.
soon. But
Correct.
the point is, Jackson looked like the best goaltender in the league. Only weekend number 1, right? And they get last year's goalie of the year back.
That's not fair.
That seems fair. So, anyways, now Avalanche, we said, went 1-1. The team that's right behind them, and which is why I bring this debate up, are the New Jersey 87s, who beat the Little Flyers 4-1 on Saturday and beat Team Maryland 3-2 today. Did the 87s do enough to jump the Avalanche to go up to 2?
Anthony, you were on the call. No pressure.
Because
And
have to.
You're a good honest critic too, Anthony. So
because I've done these individually for years, right?
yeah,
I always factor in who the strength of schedule, who you've beat, and who you've lost to, and what they've done against the rest of the league also. So there has to be some value in the Avalanche losing their game to the Rangers, right?
Right.
But this is the debate. Do the 87s do enough to jump the Avalanche?
Well, I was obviously on the call for the 87's first game against the Little Flyers, and the Little Flyers have returning players. They look like a good hockey team that can make some noise in the division. And then yesterday, you have the game against Team Maryland. And remember, earlier this week, Team Maryland walloped the Connecticut Rough Riders by scores of 9-3 and 8-3. So the 87s came in and beat that team. So I think beating another experienced team in Maryland with a lot of returning players does merit maybe a bump in the rankings.
Yeah. But I don't think the Avalanche need to fall any further than 3.
I would agree with that.
Look at
like
this.
you said, those are 2 frozen finals teams from last year.
This is off to a tremendous start, Justin. This was all Justin's idea, so claps to Justin for a second.
Golf claps.
One is Rangers, if you're writing this down, Justin. 1 is Rangers, 2 is 87s, 3 is Avalanche. And up until yesterday afternoon took place, we seemed destined to not have any chances in the top 5. I don't know what to do now because Valley is for real. Right?
3-0. Ryan McGrath, what
real.
up, buddy? What is up, Ryan McGrath? Talking a lot to me and Neil in the offseason. He said he's going to have a new team, and I think they look a little different, Neil, wouldn't you say, than seasons past?
Yes. I
He
mean,
came out flying.
I'm going to pull it up while we talk through here. I don't know the last time Valley started 3-0. Right. And that's not a shot at the organization. That's a credit to what they've done so far. Right.
And Andy Hines was there for a number of years. I would say, what was that? The 16-17 season that they had their best season that we went over.
Yes.
In the off season.
So I'll skip right to that one, Jeff. All right.
I would say that would be your best bet if they're going to call him.
I have a lot that for some reason I can keep in my head and like restore. Like there's a lot of names for some reason. There's been thousands of players, but a lot of names. I can't remember who beat who though. Like in every game. No. That's where I have to draw the line. Right.
Too much.
Also, one thing about the Valley Junior Warriors, I was talking to head coach Ryan McGrath, and I asked him about his quick 2-0, now 3-0 start after only winning 10 games last season. So I phrased it as a rough season, and he came back with, it depends on what you define as a rough season, because they had also committed 15 players to the NCAA, which was tied for second most in the league, tied with the 87s. And they had also called up a couple of players from their EHLP team. So one thing he described, and really keeping it into perspective about what the EHL is all about, is that they're still advancing players and getting them to the next level. And I think for them to start 3-0 is just one more thing to add to their repertoire, his resume, so to speak. And that's one reason why I've been keeping an eye on the Valley Junior Warriors too.
They also picked off some of the best teams in the league last year, if you remember correctly, too, Neil.
Yes,
remember
I do.
They're all their 10 wins were mostly against playoff teams, the Expresses, the Avalanches, those big gun type teams. Actually, no, not the Avalanche because we couldn't play out of state, but that's a story for another time.
So let's set the precedent right now. Can you get moved in the power rankings if you didn't play? And it's tough.
That is tough.
I don't know if you should, because if you didn't play, you don't really have much to change your standings. Yeah, other people's will change, but if you're not playing, what do you have to go off of as to why you get dropped or?
Well, here's the way I see it, Neil. If these teams are so good, then when they do start playing, they should have no problem working their way back into the power rankings where they have to prove it. Where you have a team like the Valley Junior Warriors, for them to go 3-0 and not include them, that's not fair to them. And whatever team gets bumped off, if they're so good, then they should also go to a 3-0 start and they should work their way right back into it.
That's a valid point. Valid point, Mr. Anthony.
New number 4 team, say aye.
Aye. I'll go with that.
Yeah.
Woo, we're rocking the boat week 1.
Ah!
You're all going down. You're all going down with me if there's heat. Just so you know.
I like this, Neil. You're our fearless leader, captaining the ship, as we always say. But we're all your sailors and crewmen. So
right back at Lauren. Does that kick the Lumberjacks out of the top 5 or kick Walpole out of the top 5?
No,
I think it kicks Walpole out of the top 5.
Sadly, because Vermont had Walpole didn't. Has Walpole played yet, or have they not had?
No, they opened Friday.
So that's interesting. I mean, I think Vermont should get moved up, but Walpole, if they haven't played, they don't have anything to go off of. You can go.
There's no demerits.
Take them out. Take them out.
We don't know how they look yet this season. We haven't seen them.
Right. There's no demerits, but you haven't done anything. There's no merits either. You haven't done anything. And Justin just said that. Who works for the train?
In the past, to wrap up the EHL. Because I've done this on my own, I have said that there are other teams.
You have not done this on your own.
Well, okay, true. But that's why I've in the past said that teams have been receiving votes. Sounds like we're all in consensus of Rangers, 87s, Avalanche, Warriors, Lumberjacks receiving votes, Walpole.
Yep.
And I think we're good.
Yeah, I'd say we're good.
On to the EHLP.
Hey!
In the EHLP, they're just like the Rangers in the EHL. There's no reason to move the 87s after a 2-0 start. No. Obviously, because they took care of business in the games they had to, and so be it. From there, the Railers didn't play. Vermont won a pair of games. I think that, yes, Vermont won a pair of games, but the Railers didn't play. I think 1, 2, 3 just stays the same. I don't think that Vermont's 2-4-2 victories propels them past the Railers. But we would have to make the one change at 4, which is clean and easy for us, that the Rangers beat the Avalanche yesterday 4-0, and you just flip-flop those teams. Rangers are now the new 4. I think it's pretty clear-cut simple. How about the rest of you?
Sounds good to me. Lauren, Anthony, Justin.
Yeah.
For those that are wanting more controversy, that will come as more games get played.
Right. I was going to say, we can only do so much with 2 or 3 games for all these teams. Yes. But yeah, come the coming weeks, it's on like Donkey Kong, baby.
I don't think we need to do any receiving votes at the EHLP level because there wasn't anybody else that, the Avalanche, that
the whole Central Division didn't play.
Like the Avalanche, of course, started at 4 before that game with the Rangers, but they lost 4-0. So I don't think you even haven't even earned that extra vote anyways. Mm-hmm. So there's your new way that we're going to do power rankings. I love it because now,
I like it too.
Now when people want to come for my throat, they're coming for all of our throats. So be it. It is the way that it is, right?
So be it. 5 minds. It's a powerful thing.
Of course, as we mentioned, not every team played their first game yet. So there's a number. I'll count the exact number so I get this fact right. There's 4 teams in the EHLP playing their first game this upcoming week. In the EHL, we have another 4 teams as well, including, which we're going to start doing this more and more and more, the team whose jersey I have on.
Gonna miss the edge this year, Neil. Gonna miss our pedestal, but Colin Casey's gonna take that torch from us and
go Justin,
Wizzies, baby.
Justin
go
will
Wizzies.
love this. This is game worn. This is game worn.
Got pock marks on there?
It's got a hole.
Oh, it's got holes in it. Not even pock marks. Hey,
look at that.
Just went right through the
Give
door.
you credit for that. I'll give you credit.
Right through the door.
Now, compared to the set of game worns that Justin has, I got this one for the tremendous price of free. So
we won't tell you what Justin buys his. Yeah, we won't tell you what Justin pays for his Tampa Bay Lightning, but top dollar.
This is an Andrew Harley jersey. Andrew Harley was probably one of my favorite players throughout his time in the league. If there ever was a most improved player, it was Andrew Harley, who whenever Freddie asked him to would play forward or D. Just went back and forth. And his last year was tremendous on a line with trivia, Jeff. Who was his forward line when he played forward that year?
Panzika?
No, that was the year prior.
Shoot.
This was the Chance Gorman.
Gorman.
Gorman and Brendan Darby. So for those that are already saying to themselves, geez, the associate commissioner is wearing a Wizards jersey, Jeff has a Little Flyers t-shirt. I don't have any Little Flyers gear. Lauren doesn't have any team gear yet.
Coaches,
Anthony,
please
do you
compete.
have any?
Send us
do you
swag.
have any 87s gear?
That's actually not true.
No,
Neil.
I do not.
Neil, there's false information.
Oh,
you have EHL gear.
Here comes the rookie of the year.
Yes, but I do have one piece of team gear. And it's a collector's item too.
Yes. She has a Walpole Express beanie for when it gets a little bit colder than it is right now.
They were limited run too, and they were made from my beautiful home state of Vermont. Gotta love
Actually, Neil, I do have one piece of equipment from the 87s, or should I say hardware.
Oh,
I do have a championship ring.
Oh, he got you there.
Is that's like the swag of all swags with his name on it?
Now, Neil, sorry.
Wow. You and Russo, Christopher Russo has one as well. We saw that on social media.
It was funny because Chris and I went to a Yankee game earlier this summer, and he told me that Adam had asked for his ring size, and I thought to myself, wait a minute. He never asked me for my ring size, so I thought I was going to get left out, even though I've been with the team 4 years now, going on 5. But I ended up getting the ring anyway, so it all worked out.
That's good.
Excellent.
That's good. And maybe when this season is all said and done, the E Crew will find some money between the 4 of us to purchase our own fantasy ring for whoever wins. That would be electric. That would be electric.
I'm in for that. Also, it's a new stuff tonight, guys.
We have
to Christmas.
So
first day of fall. It's like Christmas.
But we have to get to fantasy because what a great start there was.
It's time for the E-Crew Fantasy Challenge.
And the E-Crew Fantasy Challenge is presented by BioSteel, the sports drink of the EHL. Use the promo code ESHOW, that's ESHOW, for 25% off when you check out at biosteel.com.
I played fantasy for the first time and I'm in first place. You all suck. But
that alarms out.
Now you had to pick last this week. So let's see how you do picking last. So to break down what took place in fantasy.
Oh, please don't.
I'm sorry. I said to you guys, I said it on this podcast. Are we concerned at all that the Rough Riders have 3 non-AHL goaltenders? I'm just pointing that out there. I did say that on the record last week.
Yeah.
Because opening weekend wasn't great. It's a long season, right?
Yeah.
But just pointing that out.
Thank God.
So as I mentioned, Lauren is in first place. Despite the fact that her goaltender did give up 9 goals, still in first place despite that. That
well
is
done.
Mind-blowing, right?
Yeah. That should have been massive negative points.
Hey, you guys were trying to give me crap for getting a little bit of help trying to pick my players, but y'all might need some help because clearly my help worked because I did come out in first. So y'all might need some help too.
You picked my guy. You picked Egan Schmidt. Of course.
That's what happens when you pick last. You got to scramble to find someone you want.
Egan Schmidt, a quiet week for him, right, Jeff?
Hey girl, hey. Hey girl, hey. Yeah,
quiet week for Egan Schmidt with a pair of goals, a pair of assists, 1 power play point, 11 points total.
Great symmetry though by him.
Lauren, it is pretty cool to be at a game when your fantasy player does something, right?
Oh, that was so fun. Although that game, I do have one regret of when I went to that game. I overheard that Dempsey's parents actually were there because I came in and I was like trying to figure out where to go. And I remember I was texting you. I was like, how do I get to the seating? Like, I've never been here. And I overheard some lady say, oh, I'm Thomas Dempsey's mom. So shout out to Dempsey's parents. If I see you at one of the showcases, I'll definitely say hi this time. But I was like too concerned with trying to figure out where I was supposed to be sitting. Yeah. So it was fun to know that they were there, and it's cool to see the parents do come out to see their kids play. And it was cool to honestly see games and get out to a couple arenas and to see one of my fantasy picks do a goal, and the goal that like kicked off the scoring that game was pretty solid. And I made sure to give him a little shout out too, because like, yeah, their team took a loss, but like he had a pretty solid game despite that.
Yeah. They all listen, Lauren, so get ready. They'll be talking to you a lot in the crowd.
Sure,
they all come up to you. I remember Ryan Bailey's grandparents coming up to me last year.
Hey, I already have Dempsey and his dad both followed me on Twitter, so everyone's starting to listen.
Excellent.
So a goal and 3 assists, including 1 power play point for Dempsey for 10 points total.
He was a D-man. Like, what?
Dude, 2 goals.
Remember last year's
defense wins championships, man. Have you never heard that saying?
But we just talked about all the offense that he put up.
Offensive defense will win championships too, like Victor Hedman.
You got it. You're well versed.
And then finally, 2 goals, an assist, and 2 power play points for Bella. So to have Egan Schmidt with 11, Thomas Dempsey with 10, and Colin Bella with 10, like imagine if it was a better performance in goal, right? Like it's a great.
Nowarowitz still got 0.4. It wasn't
still got 0.4 because he had 47 saves. So it's a 31.4 week performance for Lauren. So she goes from picking first last week to picking last this week because she's in first place. Funny how the order just shifted right to Anthony because he picked second last week and he picked second to last this week because he had a pretty solid week as well. And honestly, I thought Bobby Geyer would have delivered a little bit more for Anthony, especially in that Rough Riders series. The Maryland put up 20 goals in the 3 games.
Yeah.
And he's their top scorer, right?
Yeah. Well, no, the one player who has actually emerged as one of the top scorers for Team Maryland, and if I'm not mistaken, the top scorer right now, Nick Graziano, the son of Renegades coach Cliff Graziano, and Nick leads the franchise in goals, assists, points, games played, and penalty minutes.
Oh, he's a big Pims guy. Well,
he does it all. But
what up, Cliff?
Hang on. I was talking to Cliff before the 87's P game against the Renegades, and I was talking to Cliff about his son racking up points in Maryland, and he said that for Nick, going into his age-out season, it sort of clicked for him where he knew that he only has 1 year of junior eligibility left. So I think he took it to another level this offseason, just in terms of training, really looking to improve his game because he had some struggles a bit last season with Team Maryland, but now he's really hit his stride with the team.
And Cliff probably pointed out too that he better be the star of the week when you saw him. And then pointed out to me that one of us better pick him in fantasy and we didn't yet. We'll
get there. I think they only have like 1 game next week.
Yes.
I wanted to pick some Warriors. Dude. I wanted to pick some Maryland, but
they even added a stat change for him, a 4-goal, 4-assist opening weekend. It's pretty phenomenal. And as Cliff pointed out to me, I have to eat my words a little bit that we did not include Nick in the EHLP to EHL all-time lineup because he made a pretty emphatic statement in that opening weekend. But as I mentioned, that was just season. Bobby Geyer for Anthony. Had 5 points for him, 5 for Aaron Dameron as well, 3 for Anthony Tavares, and then 12.6 for Ronan Mobley, of course, had that shutout against the Spartans, which all led to 24.6 points in total for Anthony. So you got Lauren at 31.4, Anthony at 24.6. We did switch technically, Jeff and I. If we were trying to keep the symmetry going, you should have technically finished third, Jeff. But I finished third with 23. Kind of frustrating. Like, I'm really kind of frustrated. Like, I'm a huge fan of Ricard Zielinski's and Michael O'Brien. I think both of them could end up on our EHL All-Star team against the colleges. But, But when you give me 2 goose eggs, I don't know what to say. Like, it's really discouraging. It's really disappointing. I don't have any words. I watched those 2 guys light it up last year because they were in my state, right? They're in my state of New Hampshire. I saw them all the time, and a couple goose eggs. It's pretty demoralizing, honestly.
Hey,
so
Wolf Bite will be back. Wolf Bite will be back. I'll get that sweater on for an episode too.
Yes.
As Coach Trimble was kind enough to send me one. So,
but John Werber with a pair of wins in that series for the Maryland, for Team Maryland against the Rough Riders. 85 saves overall. Really did actually play well in a 45 save performance against the 87s yesterday. And then 5 points of my own from Tyler Ebeling as the Ducks split their opening weekend series with the Apple Corps. So I'll take my 23 points and run, because to me, 23 points with 2 goose eggs, that's pretty damn good.
That's very good. You're still right in the thick of it, Neil.
Thank you.
Now get to my dumpster fire of the week, will you?
So
we're talking about goose eggs.
So let's start by saying Sawyer Worsing is from Maine. So we got that out there. I'm from Maine also.
Yay,
awesome.
For me. Thanks, Sawyer. Thanks for getting sus speed.
Yeah, that was tough. Played in one game, didn't play in another. No points. Higgins if we counted hits and like put a bonus on big hits, like it would have been.
Higgy's a big hitter.
Would have been an awesome weekend for you, Jeff. Really would have been. But your 2 goose eggs were a little bit tough there. Nick Junkin for the Rough Riders actually probably had the best start of the 3 goaltenders that played in net for Connecticut.
Yeah, 34 saves.
I know that's easy to say when he gave up 3 compared to 9 and 8 the other 2 days. Captain Obvious over here. Whatever that commercial, the Captain Obvious, where he always points out the funny stuff. Like, I laugh every time. I also find hotels.com. Thank you. Someone just said that. Thank you, Justin.
The Wizard of Oz.
I find like dumb humor funny. Like, I just laugh at those every time. Like,
dumb
my
humor,
favorite
dad jokes.
Like, my favorite commercial of all time is Duncan the Walrus with Geico. Do you remember that one?
Duncan the Walrus.
When they put the walrus in net and the opposing team can't score, and the guy like shoots it off like a pad that's like sitting in front of the walrus, and he's like, "It's a walrus. What am I supposed to do?" And I think it's so funny. Like, I laugh every time.
Now we're gonna have to look that up.
I've probably watched it 1,000 times, but Duncan the Walrus is an excellent netminder for maybe future fantasy. Anyways,
maybe we could draft him then. I'll take Duncan the Walrus for 500, Alex. Thank you.
Lucas Backsay, though, a solid weekend for him with 8 fantasy points for Jeff. And Jeff, we've seen in fantasy, yes, you're at 11.8, so you are in 4th place, not last place, 4th place.
Last.
Fantasy can turn quickly.
As Ricky Bobby once said, if you ain't first, you last. Neil.
Yes, you are. Fantasy, though, can turn quickly. We know that, right?
It can.
And we're going to see if there's a difference between picking first and picking last. So, Jeff, by finishing in 4th, not last, I'm sorry, again. Let's get to your picks for this upcoming week.
Let's get to them. So we're trying to, change the tide, shall we say. So only where to go from here is up. So with forward, we're going to go with a former PLF. Yes, I have my Little Flyers shirt on. What up, Anthony LaRusso, a.k.a. ALO. But he is now in Anthony DePaulo land with the 87s, Mr. Robbie C. Wagon. And he was a wagon last year. And Robbie, come on, buddy. What do you have? 2 games next week? I need hat trick points. I need you to do everything, anything. Please, please, please. And I'll maybe buy one of your jerseys.
Can I just say a real funny story real quick about Robbie C. Wagon?
You absolutely can.
So I remember listening to the podcast last year, and you guys were saying that team is not just a wagon; they're a C wagon.
Yes.
So the next day, it was an 87's Little Flyers game, and I was on the catwalk at Jersey Shore Arena, looking down at the players getting ready, and I was asking Robbie, "How does it feel to have a slang term in your namesake? The team is a sea wagon." So he was joking. It felt pretty good. And then Sebastian Romanecki said, "Well, why won't they call a team a sea bass if they're doing real well?" I look at my spotting chart and I go, "Well, Sebastian, you'd have to get your first point of the season first." And everyone on the Little Flyers went nuts.
Wow.
They were saying that he got roasted by the announcer. But I've talked to Romanecki a couple times. He's such a great kid. The Flyers head coach Mark Catron likes him too. And in the game against the 87s, he looks like a really good defender. But I mean, he took it all in stride, and that was the players loved it. It was great.
I say this to Lauren all the time because she just joined us. You got to be able to give it and take it in this league. If you're a player, if you're a coach, if you're a league official, you got to be able to give it and take in this league.
If you're a broadcaster, podcaster, play-by-play, doesn't matter. Take it.
Damn, that's a good story, though. So Robbie Sea-Wagon, I think he has a goal or two so far.
He had one goal.
Two goals.
Two goals. He's two now.
No, because he got the empty netter against the Little Flyers where he chipped it off the glass. He told me after the game that when he chipped it off the glass, he was thinking in his head, oh, Hooley's going to be so mad at me because I iced the puck. But it took a hard left turn in the offensive zone and went into the empty net. And then he scored yesterday against Team Maryland on the power play.
So that was pretty good geometry.
Ooh.
Yes.
Hey,
use the transitive property.
It all comes full circle in this podcast. But Jeff, you've got your forward so far. Now you're D.
My D, actually, this is perfect. Thank you, Anthony. I don't know if you knew this. Well, actually, you probably knew because we saw it all in the group text earlier. But Sebastian Romanicki's my D this week. He didn't get a point last year. All right, so 29 games, no points. But he's been in the Flyers organization for 1, 2, 3, 4. This is his 5th season now. Okay, so at the EHLP, he had 27 points at the EHLP in 1920, 6 goals, 21 assists. So let's go, Sebastian Romanicki. Time for you to get on the board early, Seabass. Make sure you put Anthony to sleep. Okay, let's get a point, and you'll be happy, and there won't be any fights with Anthony in the stands. But moving on to so that's forward D. Goaltender, Chris Jackson. I mean,
he is playing. Like I said,
you scared the living poop emojis out of me earlier with telling me that Nathan Miller's coming back. But hey, Miller, take your time, buddy. We need Chris Jackson next week.
Take the long.
They only have 2. Yeah, take the scenic route, Nate. You know where breakaway is, but go see. It's fall. Go see the foliage, will you? So we get Chris Jackson, and then for my utility, Louis Joseph Gurnon, who I think is leading our league in points. So
he is
picked up the hat trick yesterday.
Keep it simple. He did pick. Or was that? Yeah, that's right. Picked up the hat trick yesterday
against Valley.
That third.
And now he'll go quiet next week. But
that third goal was gross. He went coast to coast, backhand, bar down. That was just unbelievable. Tied up the game only for the Junior Warriors to get another goal with 20 seconds left. We had to at least mention it. That was seriously a wild finish.
7-6 little baseball scores. Me and you always used to like.
Or you could say touchdown with the extra point, and then touchdown with the missed extra point. So
a couple field goals.
You want to really stick with the fall trend.
Yeah.
So Jeff,
that's it, folks. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, next week you'll come on this podcast and either call your team a Sea Wagon or a Sea Bass.
Or a C beep. Well, stay tuned, folks. See you in episode 91.
So Jeff picked first, which meant I got the chance to pick second. Part of the reason why I'm also wearing this Wizards jersey is because of their forward Will Jennings, who's back for his second year with the Wizzies, playing on their top line and their top power play. Consulted with Corey Folidi because I was kind of torn, Ryan Webb or Will Jennings, and Corey, he put his word on it that Jennings will be scoring the goals and Webb will be assisting them. So I'm going for that little extra tick.
Well, see, you can't slight me for getting help. You just said you got some inside information. You can't be slighting me for getting help.
Listen, Lauren, when we get to the showcase and you're going to be working on social media stuff, I'm going to have to remind you while you're at the showcase to stop spending time consulting the coaches about fantasy advice, because they're going to be doing that the entire time.
Hey, if they bring it up, I'll chat with them. I won't be the one to do it. If they want to talk, I'll talk. I'll take any info they'll give me.
We all will.
Yes.
We all will. We didn't have showcase last year, so that's going to help us with fantasies, getting to see every coach and talk to every team and coach.
Yeah,
I'm definitely doing my homework.
Dude,
we all will.
They can finally stop calling. I can see them in person.
They'll still call you from one end of the rink. Hey, Neil, you on blue rink or red rink? I'm on red rink. I can't see you. Where are you?
Are you here? No.
Nope.
No. I actually skipped this showcase. Took it off.
I'm in Hawaii. What are you doing? Oh, the season start? Oh.
So Will Jennings at forward. They actually have 3 games this week. They play the Chiefs today. They play the Warriors tomorrow. That's Colin Casey's first call. And then they play the Avalanche on Sunday. So 3 games, trying to, find some lightning there with those points. The next one's interesting because I know there's going to be heat coming from Terry Watt. It's not a shot at him. Hayden Watson was probably one of the best defensemen on the Ducks last year. He's playing on the 87s this year. I always, whether it's not just EHL, but whether it's all sports, I always love when a player goes back to face a former team. Not that there's any animosity there between Hayden and Terry and a former team, but you always just see different performances. So on Saturday night, if we want to get a quick defenseman hat trick, Hayden, I won't be disappointed by that.
I wouldn't be disappointed by that either.
Well, it's going to be interesting, Anthony, right? Because you're going to be calling a game. We're going to get to your fantasy picks next. Are you going to have a different reaction if a Jeff Mills or Neil Ravin 87's fantasy player scores rather than your 87's fantasy player? No,
absolutely not. Because when I put on the headset, then I'm not Anthony, the EHL beat writer. I'm Anthony, the 87's broadcaster.
Fair point. Good answer.
I said it. During the game with the P team because they scored a couple of ugly goals where they don't ask how, they just ask how many. Same thing with the 87s as a team.
Well, I'll be listening in. You got my word for that.
Also, last season, it was actually the other way around when Matt Sales went from Pro Tech to the 87s and he got a shutout against the 87s. So you're absolutely right where there's something going on when a player goes up against their former team where they just take it to another level.
Yeah, I mean,
Sales was unbelievable down the stretch for Pro Tech.
Yeah, I mean, this is a podcast about the EHL and junior hockey, but Tom Brady on October 3rd could be a great night. Anyways, moving on.
after our showcase, we'll be in Walpole all together, and then we'll go home and cry.
It's gonna be so funny. We're gonna get to the end of the showcase, and Lauren's gonna be like, "Neil, you always tell me that we have to kind of like work until the last game ends," and be like, Tom
game starts in 4 hours.
Tom is here, so I got
peace.
My dad. Oh God, I had to bust that shirt out one episode. The shirt that Justin got me.
You got to do it next week, right before the showcase.
Tom Brady is my dad.
Yeah, Tom Brady is my
daddy.
Yeah. So, but anyways, to get to my goaltender, Lauren put in this like extraordinary effort last week to make sure that she pronounced Daniel Naworowicz's name right.
Yes.
And I put in no effort to make sure that I pronounced Justin. How do I pronounce his last name just to make sure I don't get it right or get it wrong? It is Jacob Al.
Jacob AHL.
AHL. Right?
AHL
Jacob. It's all.
I think it's all.
Yeah.
It is all. It is all.
Okay, that's
he could be AHL Jacob for the year.
He is, I would imagine, as the only AHL on the Walpole Express roster, he's probably starting. At least in their opener against the Seahawks on Friday. I guess we'll find out. I did not ask Josh Holmstrom about that. I think he's got enough to worry about and getting his team ready and taking over for Cody. So I didn't want to put pressure on him and say, hey, I kind of have a fantasy pick here. So, but we'll get to that after this week. And then at utility, I get to pick second. So I get my guy back, Egan Schmidt. So
I knew you were going to do that.
If Egan wants to send me his jersey also, I'll definitely wear that next week or the week after. Cause next week I'm wearing the Tom Brady's my real dad shirt.
Who's saying you shouldn't send it to me for helping my team win? First week of my rookie season and I win and he helps.
Well, I guess we'll tag him in this. We'll see what he does, but that's my team. And next up will be Anthony.
Yep. So before the first game against the Little Flyers, naturally, I had some 87s players coming up to me asking me, why didn't I pick any of them?
Already? Wow, that was fast. Damn.
Yeah, so I told them the real reason, wanted to give other teams some love, being the EHL beat writer now, but I was joking with them too. Well, hey, if you guys want to prove it, then go right ahead.
Oh.
And I'll get to that in a bit. The forward I have is... Now, I've heard two pronunciations, Julian Bosclair or Boisclair.
I almost...
Bosclair?
Does anybody know for sure? Have you gotten that checked? Because when I read that, I've taken a couple years of French in high school and college, and when I saw that name, I would have tried to pronounce it more of a French way and said Boisclair, and maybe the S was silent because of the way it's written, but... Hey,
Lauren, you had said it last week. I think we got to get this pronunciation guy going.
I'm telling you, it's a smart idea.
When you ask the coaches, they don't even know half the time. That is
no.
Jules.
You know what, Jefferson? You might know this. the coaches always say they know how to pronounce the names. And I'm not singling any coach out. This is every coach, even in the null. They say that they know, but then you ask the players and they give you a completely different pronunciation.
Agreed.
So this, again, nothing to any specific coach, but that's not their job. It's our job to get it right. And that's why I like to talk to the players about it. And Lauren, to address your point, we had a player in the 87's premier team named Griffin Dubois. It also had that OYS in there. So a lot of announcers said Dubois. But when I asked him, it was actually Dubois, and the S was not silent.
Usually it depends on the area sometimes where they're from.
Yep. But Bosclair is my forward. He had two goals in his first 2 games. Also scored the first overtime winning goal this season against the Seacoast Spartans. So he's my pick for forward. For defense, Dominic Metro. I love the way this kid plays. 4 points with a goal and 3 assists in his first 3 games. And he picked up an assist in that wild 7-6 game where he took a shot from the point, had traffic in front, got a power play goal. It looks like he skates well. He can move the puck well. He shoots well. And I think it's a big reason why the Junior Warriors are off to such a great start. And my goaltender is Jackson Bernard. He has a 1-1 record, 248 goals against average, 947 save percentage. I think he made 39 saves against the ProTech Junior Ducks in the opening night.
That good? 49?
And having seen Bernard play against the 87s, I know that he's a terrific goaltender. So that was kind of a no-brainer for me. And now my first 87s pick of the Fantasy Challenge, it only took me up until the second week. Devlin O'Kane. He scored 2 goals in that home opener against the Little Flyers. He can really rip the puck. And
I was looking at him,
the goals that he scored reminded me of a lot of Nick Swain from last season, where he can just come up the right side and he just rips it stick side off the post and in. And I think he's going to be a very effective player for the 87s. He's going to be a difference maker.
When you said Metro, you could have called them the newly dubbed number 4 ranked Warriors too, because we did that on this episode. So he did score the very first goal of the season, right, in the EHL.
Yes,
I think I remember that tweet from you. So he scored the very first goal. So solid team, and now we get to the first place team.
Yes,
Lauren.
I did.
Early rookie of the year.
Yeah, I did no double dipping this time. I have 4 players from 4 different teams, but I did choose one from a team I used last week. But I decided for my forward, I would pick out our third top play of the week with Brett Hanley from the Valley Junior Warriors. That goal was pretty nasty, and I looked up his numbers. He looks pretty solid, so I was like, he'd be a good choice for me to have it forward. And for defense, shout out to you, Alo, for this one. Give me a little bit of tips here and there. I picked Mr. Shane Green from the Philadelphia Little Flyers. I've heard he's pretty good, and he's supposed to be getting some time on the power play possibly, so that's always fun. Ooh. And for a goal, that's one that I seem to be struggling with a little bit, is finding a good goalie, because I got to check out who's who and see who's going to be playing, because that's always interesting. And this week I went with Mr. Pat Alto from the East Coast Wizards. There you go, Neil. I took a wizard for you. And he has a 966 save percentage so far, so I thought that was pretty solid. So hopefully he'll give me some good points this week. And for my utility, this one's kind of fun, and I chose Jackson Collins from the Vermont Lumberjacks. And this one was kind of funny for me because I have a friend, I won't say what league he plays in because I'm not going to promote them, but my friend back home, Mr. Jackson Verska, he's a goalie for a team down south. He told me, when I told him that I got this job, he was like, oh, you should look up one of my buddies. He plays for Vermont. And I was like, that's my hometown team. What are you talking about? And he was like, oh yeah, my buddy Jackson Collins. He's like, he plays up there. And I was like, all right, I'll keep an eye on him. And I was like, oh, Vermont has a couple games this week, so maybe I'll pick another one of them. And I checked his points. He's got a goal and assist so far in 2 games. So I was like, that's pretty solid. So I was like, well, we'll see what he can do for me this week. They got I think 2 or 3 more games this week, so hopefully he can put up some good points for me. So shout out to my friend Jackson Verska for that one.
Look at you doing recon out of the league.
It's amazing, right? So that's going to be interesting here because the order that we...
I am worried. I'm in last learning.
Well, the order that we finish in this week determines the order that we pick in next week, which is right before the showcase. which is a busy one.
I was going to say, Neil, this is going to be our first. I was going to ask you about this earlier. Our first fantasy with showcases, because we started it in 2019 in January. Weren't we done with showcases when we started this podcast?
Wow.
Ooh.
That's an excellent point, Jeff.
Wow.
Thought about this earlier.
We have never had a showcase when fantasy was taking place.
Never, because we had none last year, for all of you who forgot.
Wow.
Absolutely.
I'm pretty sure we started it after Exeter in 2019.
We started the podcast, but we did not start fantasy until after the showcase.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this is gonna be really fun because I was like,
because now
see everybody.
We're gonna pick these kids, and we're gonna
points.
be like right there, and they're gonna either let us down or pick us up.
We're gonna be chewed out by so many parents.
This is true.
We're all gonna be looking at each other across the ring and be like,
kid.
Shout out to Mr. Dameron. He was very happy when I picked Aaron in the first week. So I hope he's listening.
He played well.
Yeah.
So last week in fantasy there were 16 games. This week in fantasy there's 17 games. After that though, like the showcase, we have
62.
Just in the showcase for the EHL there are. This is quick math. Hold on. 14, 21, 27 games.
Wow.
And then there is one game on the 5th. So there are two teams that turn around right afterwards. So a 28 game week is awaiting us next week. So
it's like when we did the 12-6-2 format.
This is where it gets interesting, right? Because it's kind of like that whole concept of sometimes like in football, whoever has the ball last, they win the game. Whoever gets to pick first, like we're really, I know that you don't feel this way, Jeff, because you're at 11.8 points, but we're really on top of each other and fantasy.
You three are.
Yeah, fantasy can swing pretty quickly though. It can swing pretty quickly though, and there's plenty of good games this week that could determine that for us, right? So let's get to what to watch for.
Before we wrap things up, here's what to watch for this week in the E-Show.
What to Watch For is presented by Hockey TV, the official streaming platform for your EHL and EHLP action through the 2021-2022 season.
Do you want to each give a game to watch? We can pick We can pick the same game.
Ooh. Well, I have two.
Okay.
And I'm going to default to the four teams who have yet to play a game in the EHL. You have the East Coast Wizards and Connecticut Chiefs on today at 12:30 p.m.
Yep.
And you have tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. the Walpole Express, the Seahawks Hockey Club tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. Yep. And I want to see what these teams what they've got. Okay. So it's exciting to see them all play their first games of the season. Little overdue, I guess, but again, just getting to see them in action, I think that's two games to really watch out for.
For me, can the newly dubbed number 4 ranked Valley Junior Warriors get to 4-0 against the Wizards on Friday? That's going to be cool. That's big because they have never started 4-0, and those two teams have kind of like a friendly rivalry in a way because they always every year play each other in preseason, kind of like the Rangers and Avalanche will call it friendly, but behind closed doors, it's not friendly, right? Like, is that fair?
Yeah, Rich and Chris love each other, but they hate each other.
Yes. So I'm gonna keep a close eye on that Warriors Wizards game.
Good call.
Little Flyers because you're wearing Little Flyers shirt.
Yeah, go PLF. Get an X PLF. Well, I guess we got to go with. Aren't the 87s? They're not playing Philadelphia Little Flyers this week.
No, they played last week.
Because you could have seen Sea Wagon's return against PLF, but. Yeah, there's a lot of good games. I like the Express Seahawks because, like we said, I mean, Josh Holmstrom, he's got an NHL background. I mean, everyone touted Cody, and Cody touted Josh a lot last year when I did a lot of Express games. He speaks highly of him. Josh knows what he's doing, and we'll get to see where it's at, you know. And I heard that this Jacob All kid's very good. Justin was saying earlier, Cody's a former goaltender, former Division I Niagara goaltender, so he knows how to pick them. So we'll see if they have another Mason Palmer in that, or good old Eric Buckholz, your favorite from fantasy last year. But yeah, Walpole, we'll see what they got, because I mean they were a team last year that we thought was really going to go to the Frozen Finals, and they fell just short. And I think that's a good pick as far as a team that we haven't seen play yet and see what they have. But I like your pick too, Neil, with Valley. I mean, Ryan's got things going up in Haverhill, and if they can go to 4-0, ooh, that's That's a heck of a streak.
And Lauren's games to watch are pretty well known. It's pretty obvious to me.
No, actually, I don't
Vermont?
think it is. I'm going to say actually that this is more of like a personal excitement based off of some of my fantasy players, but I'm excited to see the Flyers take on the Apple Corps. I heard from Alo when he was talking to me about some guys to maybe take a look at from his team. I picked Shane Green, and he goes, he's pretty sure he scored his first goal of the year at Apple Corps last year. So hopefully that brings a little bit of luck and he can bring some of that into the game against them this year. So definitely one that I have written down in my calendar to look at for sure.
Wonder if he's teammates with Sebastian Romanicki, Lauren.
That would be pretty
we
good.
We can do a little
He
Romanicki up to Green. Damn it.
Right. Well,
I've been told he is with, oh God, what is his name? I looked at him too. His last name's Arnold. He's a D pair with Arnold.
Avery Arnold.
Yeah.
Former 87 for all of 3 games.
Yeah, those two are pretty good together.
Here's where it gets interesting: is if they do score, it's against Anthony's goalie and Jackson Bernard. So we're all starting to cross over here.
Yeah.
Now, I thought that you were going to just quickly say Lumberjacks and Spartans because this is your first chance to see your hometown team, but we obviously know you're going to those games this weekend too.
I'm going to try to go to one of them. I think I have some stuff going on the one day, but I'm definitely trying to make it out to at least one of them. Since I'll have to see, because I would love to get out to Letty since that is my hometown. I would love to check out a game there for once, but definitely if I can get to see them out close to me right now, that'll be really awesome.
Driving from where you live to Exeter compared to where you live to Letty is significantly different.
Oh yeah, it's like 3-4 hours. No big deal.
To Letty.
Now I will say this though, because I didn't give you this reminder before the first time you went to Exeter. The rink is cold, so.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. And I was like, I'll sit in here and, kind of be, near my boss. But I was like, I instantly regretted that decision because there was literally one of the big fans on the ceiling just aimed straight near where I was sitting. I was like, this is brutal. Normally, I would have been dressed totally fine. But I was like, this fan is blowing straight on me this whole time. I was a popsicle, to say the least.
Good old Exeter.
That's the thing about hockey in late summer, early fall, where it's just so hot outside, and then you go inside the rink and it's just super cold. Just the change in temperature is insane.
Yeah, you can't
the
trust
temperature
it.
Of the Avs rink was perfect. It was cold enough so you want a sweatshirt, but it's comfortable enough that you're not a popsicle. So I will commend them for that for sure.
But yet it's called the Ice Den. Who would have thought that? Rinks at Exeter. The Ice Den.
There.
Warning for everyone: when we get to Worcester is cold. Okay, making everyone aware of that. We're getting that out there now. That warning is out there. But as I mentioned, a lot of games on tap in both leagues this week. A lot of teams getting their 21-22 season started. So good luck to all those teams that are beginning their new campaigns for next week. Just so everyone can make this note at home. We don't often do this, but the podcast is actually dropping on Wednesday, not Thursday next week, because on Wednesday it's the 29th and Thursday is the 30th. I'm obvious, but the 30th is the day that the showcase starts. We do have one EHLP game on Wednesday the 29th, but obviously no EHL games. Makes a lot more sense to drop it on Wednesday the 29th than Thursday the 30th, so that every player, if they want to, can turn on the podcast while they're driving up in the bus on Thursday. So
I was going to say, most of us are going to be traveling up to Worcester that day, so that's going to be a fun time.
Perfect to turn on in the car. So make that note. We're dropping this on Wednesday next week, and we'll talk to you guys then.
Sounds good. See you then, crew.
Thanks for listening to The E-Show. Learn more at easternhockeyleague.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, be sure to subscribe and get notified when next week's podcast is released.